On the Wrestling Show, NorthJerseySports.com's original multimedia series talking all things wrestling across North Jersey. This is Season 8, Episode 9, and it is getting late here. I am Corey Doviak, being joined by my illustrious panel of North Jersey wrestling insiders, including the co-host, the co-pilot, the man himself, Kenny Sarajian. What's going on, Kenny?
It's just a great time. Districts were great. A lot of close matches. Let's go to the regions.
We are moving on to the regions, and we will talk about them with the rest of this group, including first-time state sectional team champion head coach, the Pascack Valley Indian himself, the great, and you hear that, Tommy? The great Tom Gallione. What's going on, Coach?
Oh, what an introduction. It's good to be back on the show.
Yeah.
In a long few weeks in the Gallione household, and it's nice to be back on.
Yeah, I mean, but, I understand. We all have other things going on in our lives, but why would you miss the show after you won your first ever state sectional championship? Kenny waxed poetic.
My 5-year-old daughter had the flu.
Yeah, but what's more important, Kenny Sarajian waxed poetic. He had tears in his eyes talking about the Indians and their brilliant young head coach.
I'm sure he did.
Also with us is the Cardinal of Bergen County Wrestling. He is Westwood assistant coach Mike Atanasio. What's going on, At?
Hey, look, let's do a little correction here. When Kenny had tears in his eyes last week, it was from the sausage and peppers at districts that didn't sit so well. I gotta tell you, Kenny, the people make good food. It was good. You guys did a great job at Valley.
Yeah.
All right, let me... Before you go into Ryan, our parents, we had a great tournament. We ran the tournament at District 1, and even though I kept calling it District 8 half the night, but Drew Gibbs was a big help, Tom Gattoni, and we had a great time, and most of the coaches were nice. Those who weren't know who they are. But our parents were so great, and our food was excellent. And the guy, Mr. Menendez, sent out a sausage and pepper and onion hero to me that was it was one of the best I ever had. I was so happy. I'm ecstatic. It can't be equaled. All right, that's my plug.
All right, well, I don't even know how to...
also enjoyed the hot dogs, too.
I don't know how to break this to you, Ryan Burdett, assistant coach of North Bergen, but you've been passed over for a sausage and pepper sandwich before you get your introduction.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm used to Kenny interrupting me on the show, but now I just got my introduction interrupted for sausage and pepper.
Right. Awesome. Drew Gibbs got a mention before you did.
It's awesome.
Anyway, the wrestling show is back in rare form this week, and, with the regions, we are missing Donnie Spataro tonight. He is fighting through some stuff here. He will be back next week, we hope, for sure. But get well, Donnie, from the boys at the wrestling show. But this show is getting so big, and this time of the season is so important, and the regions and the states and all of this stuff has generated so much interest that we picked up a new sponsor this week. And not only a new sponsor, but we have somebody to talk about our new sponsor. So hit it, new sponsor guy.
The Wrestling Show is brought to you by Brian Perlman of Village Square Realty. See Brian for all your real estate needs in North Jersey.
All right. How about that? Things are really moving up in the world for NorthJerseySports.com. With the complete and total collapse of what used to be known as the Bergen Record, now known as the USA Today / New Jersey network of horrible sports coverage here. As we move on, Kenny, first we should say that we have a very special guest coming up shortly here. We'll get to him rather quickly on the show because he is a high school student and it is late on a Thursday night as we tape this. Gable Robles, the defending Region 1 champion and the top seed in this year's Region 1 tournament, will be joining us on the show, and I know you are looking forward to that.
I love the kid.
Yes, you have a very strange way of showing your love. Please evidence Season 8, Episode 2 or 3 But
get to wrestling.
But we will mend all of those fences, and let's do that right now. Let's welcome in our guest this evening on the wrestling show. He is Northern Highlands senior Gable Robles. Gabe, thanks for taking some time here on the wrestling show.
Thanks for having me.
No, it is our pleasure. We've talked a lot about you this season on the wrestling show, but we haven't talked to you, so it's good to have you on here. And, first of all, I just want to get your thoughts about it. Listen, this is the greatest time of the year for a wrestler, and if we're talking to you, it means you're still going. So just talk about here heading into the regions. I mean, you're healthy, and, talk about your goals here for this stretch drive next 2 weeks.
I mean, the goal is probably to win minimum 6 in a row, to get on that podium down in AC. Hopefully to win another region title, to return as another region champ, and probably to, I'm going to have to verse a lot of kids that I've versed before, so hopefully just win the rematches against them.
Yeah. All right, Kenny. This is a guest that you brought to the show tonight. You've apologized to him live on the air. Now why don't you talk to him?
All right. Hey, Gabe, we know about your wrestling exploits. Like you said, you're the defending regional champ. You've excelled. I mean, you've got the one loss in the county final. You're on target to get to the States and get to the podium, and I know that's your goals right now. But quite honestly, one of the reasons you interest me the most is you are an athlete who is a rarity these days. You are a 3-sport athlete in 3 highly competitive sports. You're all-county level at football as a defensive back. You are obviously a region champ returning in the number 1 seed in wrestling. And you are also an outstanding baseball player. Athletically, you had a lot of options where to go. And not only do you do that, but you're a great student, and I heard from your dad that you're going to be heading to Muhlenberg College in Pennsylvania next year, a highly competitive athletic school and in the Centennial League, and also highly competitive academically. First, tell me how you were able, and from what I remember when I first met you, actually a couple of years ago, and I saw what a great wrestler you are, that Evan kept telling me, but he loves football. He loves football. How did you resist the pressure from just concentrating on football and letting the other sports go by? How did you maintain that you wanted to do 3 sports and you're going to do it your way?
I kind of did it because my dad kept me in all the sports, and so did my brother, because my brother wrestled and played baseball too. So I thought I'd finish out with him, but I ended up with the sports. So when I did wrestling, it kept me in good shape for after football and going into the baseball season, going into the football lifts, and it was just fun because I like winning and I hate losing. So I like that competitive side in wrestling. And then when I transferred into baseball was a more relaxed sport, and it's a sport that my dad wouldn't let me stop playing. It doesn't matter what I did. So I kept it with that, and it was just a relaxed sport that I like to do for fun. And then head into my favorite season, which is football, and that's just a sport that I just like contact. So I figure why not do wrestling too? Because it's a one-on-one sport. You can't blame it on anyone but yourself.
What are you going to play in college?
Yeah, I'm going to play football in college.
Okay. Yeah. So then this run here for wrestling, this is the grand finale for you. Does it make it you getting? It's got to be emotional. Do you think about that aspect of it? If this is the last time you're going to go through it, and hopefully wind up where you want to be?
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking I remember my brother finished short every time that he was down at States, and I kind of want to one-up him. So definitely want to finish on top of the podium because I know I can't beat him in his win. So
that's a recurring theme here on the wrestling show. Kids who want to beat their brothers. The Chaconuses come to mind. Guys that we've had on the past. Yep. Go ahead, Rye. You got a question?
Yes, Muhlenberg College, that's awesome. A buddy of mine played football there, and it was always a good time. It's a lot of fun around the football team, great atmosphere. People love their Muhlenberg football over there. When you're preparing, I mean, obviously you have a tough quarterfinal match, but when you look ahead in your bracket, you got some big boys waiting between the winner of Connolly and Garda, Aiden Fernandez and Joe Napoleon. How do you prepare for those guys? Do you look ahead and try to figure out what they're doing well, or you kind of just stick to your own game plan?
I stick to my own game plan, but I've wrestled almost every single kid in my bracket except for I think one or two maybe that I'm wrestling for the quarters. I kind of take it one match at a time and just try to see what they're good at and know my strengths. And I just know that if I dominate in the first 2 periods, I usually won't get gassed out in the third, so I just want to dominate where I'm best at. So I don't really get intimidated by anyone. I just know that they're coming out there to beat me. So I got the target on my back, but I know I just got to defend my title.
Yeah. Go ahead, Kenny.
I love this kid's attitude.
Yeah, no, he's good. He's good.
And I love the fact that you know you got the target on your back and you don't care. Let's go back to, did any coach, when you're talking about the 3 sports, did any coach ever say to you, Gabe, you know, why don't you take wrestling off, or Gabe, why don't you take baseball off? Because, you know, some of these football coaches can be territorial. Did anybody say, you know, you could be that much better if you don't do this or don't do that? I mean, did anyone at any time ever say, give up one of them?
Oh, yeah, no doubt. I mean, I even thought about it myself and brought it up to my dad, giving up one of them, but it was kind of hard making a choice on which one to give up, so I kind of just stuck it out with all 3 of them and ended up liking all of them, so I thought it was a good choice that I ended up finishing high school playing all 3 sports.
Well, I know Evan would have never let you give up baseball because he was a very good baseball player for Park Ridge in their glory days and also in college. What about the academics? I mean, you're at Highlands. It's a quality academic school. I mean, how do you balance the academics and 3 sports?
I mean, it definitely puts you on an organized type list. You got to manage your pretty much practice and the homework and studying. So it's not like you're going out a lot. So it's pretty much Highlands is a high academic school. So you get a lot of work and a lot of tests throughout the week. So it's pretty much just staying home, going to practice, going to school, and that's pretty much your week until a little bit of summer. But even then, you still have football over the summer.
All right, here's the question. None of your Highlands teachers will hear this answer. I promise you this, okay? But, you know, kids have things going on in their lives, and sometimes teachers don't understand that. And I'm a teacher, but when our kids have the national dance competition or the cheerleading competition and the kids are going to states, and they come to me and say, Siraj, you know, can I be a little late on this? Has any teacher ever, when you say, hey, I'm going down to Atlantic City for the weekend for the states, can I turn this in late? Has any teacher ever said to you no?
Yeah.
All right, I need names, Gabe. Who is that teacher? And
I'll tell you something, Gabe. We were talking with Coach Ballione this afternoon, and we had a kid who placed in the States, and Friday night in the States, after he won his match, he had to be on his computer turning a paper in by midnight because the guy wouldn't give him till Monday. Unbelievable. These guys have no clue, right, Gabe?
Yeah. Except maybe our gym teacher.
Gabe, when we finish this interview, I want you to hit us up on Twitter. So I will personally write you a handwritten note, and I will post it on Twitter excusing you from all academic activities for the next week and a half, so you can concentrate and get your head straight for the state tournament coming up there. Yeah, because we have that kind of pull here on the wrestling show. As you know, you're on the show because Kenny badmouthed you earlier in the season. I mean, would you like to return the favor to Kenny Sarajian? He's sitting here, he's telling you how great you are, but he's really trying to brush past the recent history. I think you should go back at him. I mean, any comment to Ken Sarajian for the way he treated you earlier on this year?
Nah, I love him. Thanks for having him.
No, come on, tell him Evan loves me. Tell him Evan, I've known Evan since 1979. Evan loves me. Tell him.
Gabe Robles, the returning Region 1 champion, going at it this weekend to try to do it again. We wish you the best of luck. We had fun with you here tonight on the show. Thanks for coming on, and best of luck going forward, man. It's a great time. Senior year of high school, last run, so enjoy every second of it.
All right, thank you.
Great stuff there with Northern Highlands Gabe Robles. Always nice to hear a new voice on the wrestling show. We wish him the best of luck. Kenny, where are we going from here?
Let's go to the regions. We don't have Donnie, so I'm going to do a brief thing just about Donnie's region, Region 2, which will forever be renamed the Bergen Catholic region.
Right.
I mean, they advanced everybody over there, 14 guys going. I think one of the most amazing things I want to say, everybody talks about, and Donnie, when we were talking during the week, Donnie talked about the Hills team that had 11 or 12 kids going on to the regions. I mean, I think the most, next to this group of BC kids, I think the most astounding regional winners I ever saw was in 68 or 67, Bergenfield, when only one kid went from district and only one kid went from regions, had 8 out of 12 regional winners going to the States in Asbury Park at that time. Other than that, I don't think, and I'll ask Mike first, then Tommy, and then Ryan, have we ever seen anything this dominant moving forward? Mike?
I don't think we have, and I think that at the end of this tournament, we're going to, when it's all said and done next weekend, we're going to look back and say, this is possibly I think it's going to be the deepest team that we've seen in our area. It also might be the deepest team all time. I mean, I don't know how many places they're going to have, but I honestly feel like there's going to be double digits, possibly, maybe 8, maybe 10 guys that come back with hardware. It's just a super deep team, and you're just going to be, kind of curious how many of them are going to place, how many of them are going to be in the finals. It's going to be cool to watch, and, it's up to them to figure out, exactly where their place in history is going to be. We can talk about it next week and everything, but I think we all kind of get this is a legitimate team in the all-time scheme of things. I remember back in the 80s, Pascack Hills in the 70s had some teams that had multiple state champs and multiple placers. I just, I don't see it happen. There's a modern era that we have to focus on, because I know Newton in 1940 had like 6 state champs, but I think there was only 25 kids wrestling back then. But it's really impressive. It's cool. It's fun to watch.
Kenny, weren't you on that? Didn't you wrestle against that Newton team?
Tommy, what do you think?
I agree with Mike. I think it's they could possibly send how many 10 kids down to Atlantic City, maybe more, 12. Who knows? They could send their whole lineup down there, and then when they get down there, they've wrestled tough competition all year. They're used to it. They could, like Mike said, they could easily have 8, 10 kids place in the state tournament, which is remarkable. And I think with that, you would have to look at them as probably one of the best teams, one of the deepest teams of all time. I wasn't alive for the 60s, Bergenfield like you, Kenny, but I'm sure it was a hell of a team.
Tommy, do you feel like you just reverted to your old role like back in the early days of the wrestling show when you were the number one cheerleader for the Bergen Catholic program that was on the rise?
Yeah, it's good to see that they got, all 14 kids in the regions, and we'll probably send all 14 kids to the States. I mean, they can book a whole floor at the Tropicana. It's unbelievable. I booked 3 rooms thinking all right, man, we get 3 kids down, that'll be good. Something like that. These guys are taking up a whole floor.
Yeah,
but,
no doubt.
Hey, what can you do?
I mean, if you got 3 rooms, if I come down, do I share a room with you again?
Oh, boy.
No, never again. Those days are gone. I'm scarred for life. Can't speak about that on the air. We'll all get fired.
All right, Ryan, would you like to take your turn to kiss the ring of the absent pope of Bergen County Wrestling, Donnie Spataro?
If I got to give you a team, I'll give you a team right now that's obviously not going to touch the 14, but they're close. I believe they have 10 or 11 left in the quarterfinals tomorrow in Region 3, which is where my team is at, and that's Hanover Park. They're loaded. They've been loaded for a couple years now. Not to mention, they have another 5 or 6 wrestlers who are nationally ranked that do not go to Hanover Park. So the actual town of Hanover Park is nonstop with wrestling, and they're able to do this with the ones they keep. And there's a couple other guys scattered among the Catholic schools in New Jersey and also among the prep schools in New Jersey. So I don't know, what's in the water over there, but I have my wife looking for a house right now. So we'll find out.
Wow. Okay.
Corey, sorry to kind of piggyback that. In our region, Region 1, Pope John, I mean, they got, they had, I think, 12 kids as well. So it's pretty impressive what some of these teams got.
All right, a change to the national rankings run by NorthJerseySports.com. Bergen Catholic maintains its spot as the best team in the country, and Hanover Park just moved up to number 2. So,
one thing out of this region, and first of all, Ryan, this is why we appreciate you so much. I mean, adding that stuff from Region 3 and your knowledge of that and your analysis. But just to quickly finish up on Region 2. Region 2 has the one match that everyone in the state is looking forward to, and it's the rematch of O'Malley and Folka. I mean, Folka was ranked, nationally. O'Malley was ranked nationally, and O'Malley won on Saturday night, and they're going to meet. We see that as the final again on Saturday, and I know that's the featured bout of that night. And, you're talking about, Mike and Tom and Ryan all said it. I mean, these guys, Bergen Catholic could have, their depth is they could have 8 to 10 medal winners. I mean, that's unbelievable. But you're talking about two guys from the state, from the same district, same region, could be the finals, state final match, too. And you know what? I've seen it before when they first added the second guy, where the guy who won the district and the guy who won the region, the other guy ended up winning the state final. So back in 1971. So I think that's just a monster bout every time you see those two. And now we can move on.
I know for Region 2, I know he was on the show a few weeks ago, but Shane DeLuca in Fairlawn still has 8 kids alive, and
True.
That's pretty good. It's a nice group, right, nice number, with some heavy hitters in there, and Cedeno and Kid Cavino at 95 is the 3rd seed. So he's, I know he's looking for a nice weekend as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to see. I mean, the resurgence of wrestling talent in Bergen County has been fun to watch. I mean, from my perch on the outside looking in, really, as it is. But, you hear it and just listen to you guys talk about how many guys in the public schools, too. And Tommy, like the historic run you guys went on this year, High Point maintaining its position, all kinds of good things going on in public school wrestling, too, in addition to the dominance of teams like Bergen Catholic. So, Kenny...
Well, going to Region 1, Mike, how many... You got a lot of guys left, Mike, right?
We have 6 left.
Yeah. I mean, you got 6 in the quarterfinals. That's phenomenal.
Yeah. So, I know. If we go back to districts, if we won one more quarterfinal match at districts, and there was a match that we won the original match and lost the rematch in district, if we won that, we would have won our district and knocked off High Point, who was ranked number 7 in the state.
Crazy.
We were close. Yeah, it's really crazy. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff. You got Valley coming up. You got Fairlawn coming up really well, coming up big, in addition to, some of the other non-publics that are good. Bergen County Wrestling is really making a step forward. It's going beyond just Bergen Catholic. Obviously, has been very, very good for a long time. But you can see that the level of wrestling in our area, it seems like it's taken a big step forward. And I feel like when we're comparing ourselves, now these regions are not just little sections where it's sort of Bergen County extended. Now we're really mixing across the state, and we're seeing that we can compete with Newton and High Point. And we're seeing people in Region 2 and Region 3. Our area is doing very well when we're comparing to the other parts of the state. It's pretty exciting.
Yep.
Mike, you're almost reading my mind. We have a question of the week at the end about this situation, so we'll get to it. But Tommy's got 5 kids, I think, still alive. We're going to hear from Ryan in a little while when we get to Region 3. But the amazing thing is, if you looked at our district, District 1, and one coach said to Tommy the other day, he goes, I never thought that you could leave District 8 and go to a tougher district, our old District 8. Now we're in a tougher district. However, when you go from the top 4 teams, what was it, 15 points between number 1 and number 4? Or 20. Yeah, it was like 172 to 147, so that's 25 points, the top 4 teams. And it was only like 4 points between you and...
It was 16 points between 1 and 4.
What was it?
16 points.
It's unbelievable.
When we hit that last round, we were like trying to do calculations because we had consolations at the same time as finals, and we had coaches going, I don't know who to root for. Should I root for Newton, Valley, or High Point? I have no idea. And I said, just root for
you're kidding me. You root for Valley. What the hell's the matter with you?
Well, we want to win. We had our shot to win. We just want to make sure we had to do everything we could. But you're just watching matches going, am I supposed to root for Newton or High Point? I have no idea because we don't know who's in the lead anymore.
Right.
It was really cool. It was a lot of excitement. It was fun.
All right, let's talk about Region 1. All right, guys, you tell me. Tommy and Mike, I don't care who goes first because Donnie ain't here.
That's when it's most important.
What's the matchup each of you wants to see? And who's the guy you should be looking for?
Tom, you go first. You pick a weight class, then I'll grab a weight class. We'll talk about it. You go first.
Kenny, when you're talking matchup, you talking finals, you talking, anything early? What exactly do you want? Just so I know.
If you got an early round bout that impresses you, tell me. But I want the final. But if there's like everybody can talk about Mike's kid at 126 against Manginelli again, possible final. I mean, they've had 2 1-point matches so far. But tell me 3 1-point matches.
Yeah.
But tell me about an early round that you're looking at, and then tell me a final.
Well, I mean, I think if you look at 113, I think you got a lot of. You have Alvarez, you have the kid Ventresca from Pope John, and then you bring in, Brandon LaRue from High Point, who was a state qualifier last year as well, plus Logan Mazzio. Who knows how that's going to play out? You got Alvarez at the top, you have Ventresca at the bottom. You got some potentially great matchups in there with Alvarez, or Ventresca final, or you look at Mazzio and Alvarez in the counties. That was a 1-point match, with Mazzio almost having a few takedowns at the boundary there. So I think that's one right there. That plus you throw in the Spencer Stewart kid from Sparta, who's 30-5 as a freshman, something like that. I think there's a lot of talent in 113. That's one weight class that stands out to me.
All right, I'll grab one. Go ahead. I'll grab 132. Jake Rotunda is the top seed from Pope John, and we have Luke Mazzio on the other side. 2 guys ranked in the state should meet up in the final, but Talmadge from High Point is very tough. He's a 3 seed. He's going to challenge Mazzio in the semifinals on Saturday. I like Luke in that match, but I know Talmadge is very tough to score on. It'll be a fun match to watch, and I expect Rotunda and Mazzio to be a final. 2 guys that we hope will place in the state. That'll be a great one to watch. So I'm looking at 132. Another weight class that I would like to talk about a little bit is 82, because Beam is really good from St. Joe's / Queen of Peace. Used to be a Queen of Peace. He is really good, and he's very, very tough. We also know Zach Massaro from Kittatinny is also very, very tough. And Pope John has a good guy there. Multon is a 3 seed. That's good. And tomorrow night, you want to talk about matches tomorrow night? The Lewis battle. Got Casey Lewis and Zach Lewis, the 4 or 5 seeds. They're going to go after each other. That'll be a good match. Either one of those guys could find their way down to Atlantic City. So 95 is a good one to watch, too.
Let me ask you guys a question, because I see one weight class here that I don't know enough about, but when I look at what I see, it impresses me, and it's another big boy weight class. It's 195. You got the kid from Pope John, Brown up at the top. You got Gannett from Sparta down at the bottom, and then you mix in Chaconis is the 5 seed, and we know he's capable of anything. And then you got the kid from Pompton Lakes Negrini. I mean, look at that. I mean, you got
that is a deep weight.
Brown
very
final.
Good weight. Yep.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's a very good. That's another very good weight class. I mean, you have, like you said, Chaconis is tough. He's wrestled a tough schedule. He can wrestle with anybody. Negrini, is tough. Jackson Downey's put together a great year this year for Old Japan.
Yep, he's good.
I think he's 32-4 or something like that. I mean, he's had a great year. He's tough. He's strong. He's a tough wrestler. That's another really good weight class in this region.
Yeah. You know what? You want to talk about big boys, and you want to talk about an interesting match to watch tomorrow night. I'm definitely going to be watching Drew Flynn, the undefeated top seed. Usually on quarterfinal match, you're not watching the top seed, but I want to see him wrestle Jack Swords from Don Bosco, who is a beast, who is a first-year wrestler, who was a terrific athlete, good enough to pin Bailey Pastor last week from Demarest, who was also ranked in the state.
Yep.
And Swords is a dangerous draw first round. Boy, I would not be happy if I was from Pompton Lakes and I got that draw first round, because this guy's got nothing to lose and everything to gain, and he just pinned the state placer, and that's going to be interesting to watch. And we also have a good guy from Rampo who's hoping to get on the medal stand, and Seidel from St. Joe's, who had a really good final match with Pastor. So there's a lot of good guys up top this year. I think there's going to be a lot of people staying to the end to watch those matches.
One other weight class that kind of is 170 as well. I mean, you had Gable before, and then you go Shane Connolly from Jefferson is tough, Garda, Emerson, Travis Arata from Mawa, Napoleon, then you put in Fernandez from Western. I mean, this weight class is stacked. I mean, the Kittatinny kid's tough. Jake Prussia and Fernandez have gone back and forth. I mean, there's no easy path in this weight class as well.
My dark horse there is Garda from Emerson, guys.
Yeah, Garda he's tough.
Garda he only has one loss. Every time I watch him, I go, I can't believe how good this kid got in the last year. And honestly, he's my guy. He's the guy. If someone would say, pick a low seed from the tournament this weekend that's going to win it all, I'd go with Garda from Emerson. He's really
without a doubt, he could.
Yeah.
You know what? It's funny, though. I want to just jump back to 285 because Mike or Tommy just said it. Think about this. At the beginning of the year, in our preseason, we said nobody in our county at the time touches Seidel. And then Bailey Pastor takes him, and now he's the 3 seed in a weight class which, you know what happens with the big boys. Somebody gets on top, the other guy ain't coming up. So, I mean, look at this kid. I mean, that's amazing. You guys got anything else on Region 1, or you want to jump to Region 3 and Ryan, who... All right, Ryan, what do you got? 3. What do you got, Ryan?
Yeah. Got a bunch of weights here. Before I get to Region 3, my only comment on Region 1 is it's funny that At mentioned John Garda, because as highly as I think of him, I think my dark horse in that weight, and I don't really think he's a dark horse, but it's Connolly of Jefferson. I think he's pretty nasty, and he's a kid that he's a pinner, and so I think that's why that weight is really scary, because I think the winner, that's going to be a great match tomorrow. That's a pay-per-view match tomorrow night. I think that's the one to watch, and I think the winner there could really make some noise. And then obviously we had our guy Gable Robles on tonight, so 170 looks like a lot of fun over there. As far as Region 3 goes, a lot of deep weights, and my before regions changed to 4 moving on, my favorite round was always the round to get into that 3-4, and then the 3-4 match. The emotion in the 3-4 match was awesome. So now with that changing to the 4, I think my favorite round moves back to the semifinal round, and I think that's where you're going to see a lot of the great matchups here. I'll start with 126, which has Dominic DiFranciscantonio from Hanover Park. I think he's going to go to the semi, and he's going to face a very game Anthony Petrillo from Livingston, who had a great year last year. He had a bad postseason, so I think his name got lost in the shuffle a little bit. He's had a phenomenal year. He was the district champ in our district at 26. And then obviously in that weight you have Pat Glory, the number 1 in the nation. So nobody questions him there. An interesting quarterfinal is Salem and North Bergen with a rematch of O'Rourke of Warren Hill. Salem led the semifinal in the district and got turned and pinned by O'Rourke. So that rematch will be tomorrow night. At 32, another nationally ranked guy is Nick Ramo from Hanover Park. And that weight is also deep. You have some nice matches tomorrow night in the quarterfinal with Cornejo and Tringali and Tino against Cantor. Then I'd say for money's worth, the best weight, the most fun weight I think that you're going to see in the region is probably 145 with Tavoso of Del Barton, Winnett of Mendham, Zinsmeister of Phillipsburg, and then down bottom you have a really nice potential semifinal in Corita and Connolly of Hanover Park, and that's Corita of Hackettstown, who's been ranked in the state all year. So I think that the really good wrestling you're going to see in the semifinals. Not to say there won't be some great finals, but I think the semifinals is where it's at, and that's where the energy is going to be. And I think one other team to look out for as a whole is Del Barton, because up and down the lineup they have guys that you may not recognize by name, and I think at the end of the day they're going to have a lot of guys going down to AC.
You know, it's funny. I was just going to ask you, other than Hanover Park, because you look at Del Barton and you go to 113, you got Anthony Clark there, and you've got the kid from Phillipsburg Day. I mean, that looks like a pretty decent weight class to me for a bunch of young kids.
There's and even lighter than that. If I could probably sit here all night with good weight classes. But 106, you got Nardone, who's already knocked off Kyle. You got Malovchek from Belvedere, and you've got Oliveri from Hanover Park. So you've got three more kids that we're not sure which way that's going to go in the final, but. Yeah, every weight there's some state caliber kids, and there's 3 or 4 deep. So I think the only downfall of maybe you could say this region, I think a lot of weights you already see the top 4. I don't think there's going to be a lot of fight in those matches to get to the top 4, but the semifinal, the final, and the 3-4 matches are going to be great. I just don't see the weights that have maybe the 6 or 7 deep. There's a couple, but I think the solid 4 are set in about 10 of 14 weight classes here. But
you know what happens then, Ryan? When you say that, you talk about, okay, so those 4 are, they get by tomorrow night, and the guys who lose in the semis have to make one match to get back to the round that they'll go. But what happens is, you guys, from what I see you talking, and I'm looking at the brackets now, you're going to have, and I guess we have it in all things, a lot of rematches where at that final wrestleback before you get to the third floor, that's going to be the most interesting round. Because those kids are they're going to go up a kid they may have lost to. Our district, there were so many 1 or 2 point matches that could have gone either way, and now those kids are going to be fighting for a wrestleback spot to go into the 3rd, 4th place bout and a trip to Atlantic City. So I think that round is going to be exciting.
Yeah, you're going to have some kids coming off of losses and some kids fighting back with wins. So, that could absolutely make the difference there in the rematches.
That becomes the exciting one. All right. Unless you guys got something else to say about any of the regions, I got a broad wrestling question for you guys. Hold on, Kenny. You ready for it?
Hold on, Kenny. You cannot ask a question of the week without me playing your intro that everybody clamors for week in and week out, and we've been shy on playing it all year here on the wrestling show. So let me hit the button. And now it is time for the segment that is sweeping the high school wrestling world. A segment so confounding, so creative, and so calculated that it often leaves our panel speechless or pleading the fifth. It's Ken Sarajian's Coach's Question of the Week. Okay, Kenny, continue. Go.
Okay. So, and we're going to start with Ryan, then we'll go to Tommy, and then we'll go to Mike. Here's the question. 2 years ago, they redistricted the districts and redid the regions. And one of the things we've been talking about tonight is the spreading out of the Bergen County teams. It's created new matchups, new dual meets, because we had to get new people that we were going to wrestle in our district. At the end of the day, do you guys think now, 2 years later, and I was against it, I'm honest, I was against it. We've met new people, some we like, some we really don't like, and you know who you are. Do you guys think that this was good for wrestling, not just for the state, but for our area, because it challenged us more to go outside our comfort zone? Ryan, then Tommy, then Mike.
I think I speak on from two different aspects. One, as a wrestler, I think it's great. I think our region is super competitive. I always liked our region, but I think it's even more competitive now, and it's brought in some high level kids. So that's great from a coach's aspect. I kind of miss getting to see the guys that we always had great relationships with in our regions. Not to say you can't build new relationships, but We really had a good Region 4 rapport with a lot of guys, and that was a lot of fun. It made that whole weekend or that whole week a lot of fun. On a district level, if I'm being completely honest, I've felt bored out of my mind at districts the last 2 years. And maybe it's because I don't know the kids. I don't get to see these kids wrestle just because of where we ended up. A lot of the teams are not from our area. We don't have a lot of common opponents. We're working on that. So from a district level, I have not liked it at all. From a region level, competitiveness has been awesome, off the charts. And so I'm still pretty mixed on this. And I missed the rapport with some guys. So I don't really have a yes or a no there. But that's how I feel on each level.
Tommy?
I was hesitant right away. I mean, I think I kind of, with what Ryan said, I missed the relationships, the rapport that we had with the old District 8 and even in the region. So that's, that's been, you not only had to get used to the wrestlers and reaching out outside of your area to get some matchups you want, but then you got to, you're kind of feeling out new coaches from different areas, the way they do things, the way that, they're used to stuff and vice versa. So that's been different. But as far as the District 1 and the district that, we've been placed in and so on, I mean, it's been as competitive, as District 8, and it's been some very good wrestling. So, I mean, I guess, it's going to be always a little tough to get used to because, right, at the end of this year, they're going to shuffle things around a little bit. So a few teams may move around, may bounce around. So now all of a sudden you got to get used to, a few different schools being in there. So I do like it, as far as, maybe the wrestling piece, but I completely understand what Ryan said as far as the rivalries and the way that, that old District 8 used to be was a lot of fun. And, so that's kind of, feel very similar to what Ryan had said.
Mike?
Well, you guys said a lot of things that I would probably touch on a little bit, but I would say this. I enjoy going against teams from Passaic and Warren and Sussex counties because it gives me a rooting interest sometimes in matches that maybe I wouldn't be that interested in. When I see a kid from Dumont that I've been watching wrestle for a couple of years, or, Ultapan, and they're wrestling against somebody from Florida or Jefferson or High Point, I have rooting interest. I want our guys to do well in that match. And it does expand our horizons. It's made us scout teams we wouldn't have scouted before. It makes us schedule teams that we wouldn't have scheduled before. We're reaching out to Sparta now. We're trying to get them on the schedule next year. We already have Butler. We see High Point every year. We're seeing Newton sometimes. We wrestled Jefferson this year. So we're really, it is, like Kenny said, we are getting out of our comfort zone a little bit. And, we wrestled Kittatinny twice this year. I think we are the first team ever to beat Kittatinny twice in the same year, which is pretty cool. I'm sure Mr. Gill doesn't love that so much, but what are you going to do? Sometimes
he certainly didn't love it the first time you beat him. I know that for sure.
No, he didn't. He didn't like
more
it the
John
second
Gill
time either, but we could get him on the show sometime maybe and talk about it a little bit. So,
open invitation.
Open invitation. Love to have him on.
Yeah.
So I think it's cool. I do miss District 8. We had a great thing. We had a lot of fun. We had rivalries, but they were friendly rivalries for the most part. It is a little weird to not have that home base, but in general, I'm good with it.
Well, let me close it up with this. And Mike, knows how I feel about him and Paulie and Tommy and I guess Joey now. If you guys weren't in our district, I would have really hated our district because, and I like some of the guys. I like Tori, I like Mike Rooney, but having you guys there made it like home for me. So that's one of the ways I felt. But I do think, and I will add one other part to this, I think expanding our horizons helped all our teams in the sectional tournament too. And I think that was important for all of us. And I think that's why you saw so many of us do so well too. But that's just my opinion on that.
So much love here on the wrestling show.
Yeah, too, Kenny, it gets us out of the mode a little bit.
Yeah,
where you're wrestling the same. If you grew up in Hillsdale or Emerson or Washington Township, and you are in a rec league, and you're the same way. We have kids that have wrestled each other over and over and over again, And it's nice to know there's at least a shot that you're not going to keep wrestling the same kid over and over again. So it is kind of cool to have new teams. But I do, it's going to be, you know what, maybe Kenny next year will be Westwood and Valley, but next year Emerson will be in your district, or Pascack Hills will be in your district, and it'll be that familiarity. You know, you get some of that back.
I said I wanted people I liked. Emerson would be great. I don't know if anybody else picks up on that podcast.
No, don't edit that out. That's good stuff.
Yeah, no, it's staying.
I like Emerson. You'll always stand in Joe. Oh, did I forget some team? Let's go.
All right, listen, this is the first, I felt a lot like Ryan Burdett does usually on any given episode of the wrestling show. I actually muted my microphone and just listened to you guys talk for the better part of 20 minutes. So I know that this is a good show because I just listened to it. Usually I'm piloting it. This time I was sitting back in steerage. And you guys broke down regions 1, 2, and 3. I mean, we've done a lot of good shows here over the course of 8 years. This one I will stack up with any of them. Gabe Robles was a great guest. You guys were impassioned. And it also helps that you're all having great seasons and that, there's still a lot of you got a lot of wrestlers left going into the regional tournament, so obviously that adds some juice. But you guys were on point tonight. This was a great episode of The Wrestling Show. Let's all join hands. Let's sing some Kumbaya, and we will see you next week on The Wrestling Show.
Follow the